Hello, everyone. This is Tony Lawson, CEO and co-founder of Shop Black. Today, I'm joined by Mr. Derrick Ashong and Ms. Lucia Brawley, founders of AMP Global. Derrick and Lucia, how are you doing today?
Doing great.
Doing great. Happy to be with you, Tony. Thank you.
My pleasure. Glad to have you both here. So let's get into it. So AMP Global, I want to find out more about your company, but first want to hear a little bit about, who you both are. I know you both have long careers in the tech and entertainment field. So if you could both kind of give a brief background on, who you are and what brought you here.
Lucia, you want to go first?
Sure. So I'm Lucia Brawley, co-founder of AMP Global Technologies and executive producer of the Mic Africa. I also write it. My background is that I was a ballet dancer growing up, and then I went to Harvard and Yale. I got my MFA in acting from the Yale School of Drama. I started acting in theater, television, and film in New York, LA, Europe, working with people like Oliver Stone, Barry Levinson, Angela Bassett, Viola Davis. It's a huge honor. But I got swept up in the Obama campaign and ended up organizing a group of 2 people that grew to 2,000 people. And we won for Obama by the largest margin in the California primary. And through that, got discovered by Ariana Huffington to write for the Huffington Post, which led to me writing for CNN.com. Anyway, during that period, I met Derrick and Jonathan, who would become 2 of the 4 co-founders, the 4th being Esteban Robles Luna, our tech co-founder. And I saw how my background in entertainment and writing and organizing could work together to help build movements around amazing content and empower artists and fans alike.
Amazing. Derrick.
Thank you.
Very cool. So I'm Derrick Ashong. I am originally from Accra, Ghana, raised there, as well as in Flatbush, Brooklyn, in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, and Doha, Qatar. Went to Harvard as an undergraduate, went back for graduate school, studying how trends in open source software would influence the future of the media and entertainment sector, and particularly around ideas of open source media, open source content. And so basically it was a cultural anthropology of technology. And this was something that was a little bit avant-garde at the time. So I actually got recruited out of my PhD and into the industry, working with a number of luminaries that were exploring the future of that digital media sector. So I had the opportunity to consult for a number of big companies, from Visa and Nokia to others. I got a chance to work with some luminaries like Dave Stewart of the Eurythmics, got to work with Oprah and Steven Spielberg, big media companies like, BET, Al Jazeera, ABC, Disney, Univision, and basically scaled multi-platform assets to 300 million households around the world. Ultimately realized that people didn't know who was watching, and folks were missing some key things. One, who's watching and why? But then on the flip side, where is the audience, right? So we don't know who the audience is, and we don't know where they are. And in thinking about those 2 issues, I realized there was an opportunity to start a business that could be transformative for the future of media and entertainment, and that is AMP Global Technologies.
Amazing. So speaking of starting a business, all those roads led you both to AMP Global Technologies, a company that has like multiple, pieces that fit into the puzzle. There's the Take Back the Mic app, there's the Mic TV show, there's an interactive festival, there's the World Cup of Hip Hop. So could you explain what these pieces are and how they all fit into the, the overall mission for the company?
Okay, great. So I'll start with the core piece, which is the technologies aspect, right? So the platform that we've built is, if you look at what's on Android, what's on iOS, and what's on the web, the Take Back the Mic platform is basically if Netflix had a baby with Instagram, and together they lived on a blockchain, right? And so what does that mean? What does that mean in practice? Like you say, throwing out all the sweet words, what does that mean in practical terms? It means we're dealing with high quality, like TV quality, Emmy caliber content with the full interactivity of social media, genuine authentic social viewing experiences. And we're doing it on a platform that enables a transparent ledger that helps you reward fans and recognize them for their contribution to what happens in the ecosystem. Or why does that matter? And what's the context? You know, if I'm flying around all over the place, in and out of this country, that, Dubai is my typical hub, I get my mad miles on Emirates. If I'm staying at the same hotels every place I go, okay, you get the benefits with Marriott or whatever it is. If I'm going to the same coffee shop every day at work, then after 2 weeks, I get a free latte, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm the biggest fan of Rihanna, I'm the biggest fan of Iron Man or Wonder Woman, what do I get? Nothing. And everybody assumes that's okay, right? So what we've done is build a platform that not only enables you to get great content, merge it with full interactivity so you have social experiences around content, but we've done it on a blockchain-based, Ethereum-compatible digital currency that enables us to reward users for their engagement. The user is no longer a product, they're a participant in the value chain of media and entertainment. That's the baseline of what we've done. What does that mean in practice in terms of the things that you identified with Take Back the Mic and the Mic app, Africa and TVTM Interactive? Simple way to think about it. Netflix came into its modern phase with a really amazing show called House of Cards. You could think of the TVTM platform as the Netflix. You could think of the Mic Africa, which is now expanding to multiple versions around the world. The first original, TV format born on the African continent. You can think of the Mic Africa music competition / travel series as the House of Cards that lives on that Netflix. And then TVTM Interactive is a way of bringing creative thought leaders, artists, technologists, et cetera, together to have conversations about the future of both industries, the technology and the entertainment.
Interesting. So let's talk more about the Mic, right? Currently airing season 2. The Mic Africa, as you said, is like the first interactive TV format on the African continent. How did that idea come about? And I know you just explained what it is, but like, what was the inspiration behind it? Was it like, okay, like these the fans or the viewers are watching all this other content and not getting anything in return? How do we reward them, for supporting certain artists? How do we get certain artists out there? Like, what was the thought process behind that?
So I had done a video years ago that blew up in Ghana. It was a remix of the old classic Sweet Moda. And I got invited to a cypher at this place called Bus Stop, and we all there. Cypher is fun, everybody freestyling, it's all good. And I remember I went up, did my thing, next guy got up, do the thing, whatever, everything's chill. And this one kid gets up, he starts flowing. You're like, oh, okay, he sounds pretty good. And then all of a sudden he switches languages. And he starts freestyling in another language. And just as you're processing, you're like, wait, is this kid improvising in 2 different languages? He switches to a third. I'm like, hey, Charlie, as for this one, I have to slow down now. This dude is doing something that people struggle to accomplish in 1 language and just did it in 3, like it was effortless. And it hit me that, wow, some of the most interesting things happening in hip hop culture, not necessarily happening in the US. That was in January of 2005. Right? Almost 17 years ago.
Wow.
And I thought, wouldn't it be amazing to have a series where you could actually see the world through the eyes of amazing young artists and literally have a global conversation through this universal language of hip hop. Now, at the time, I'd been working on a really, really cool open source technology project. And I've been looking at had a guy named Richard Stallman, who's the founder of the Free Software Foundation, the godfather of the free software movement, edit this treatise that I wrote called Free This CD, the FAM Manifesto. FAM is in Freedom Access Music. And we wrote a license for open source media and then drew an entire sort of white paper around how that would work and how you would think differently about content, intellectual property, and the technology that would be needed to have a new experience between fans and creators. And what happened is basically that white paper proved to be the solution to that cultural story, that's cultural challenge that I saw, which is why don't we get to see the best of this artistry from around the world? It took a decade to be able to put together the right team to build the technology and the right team to build the media asset, which initially was just designed to showcase. We didn't realize it was going to be a thing until it got an Emmy nomination. We lost to Taylor Swift, you know what I'm saying? Still trying to shake it off. But it was incredible. And that was the birth of our realization that, wait a minute, we're onto something. And we can build an ecosystem that bridges the gap between people all around the world, around artistry and culture, and really focus on really high-end, amazing works that really reward the audience for their engagement with it. And that's the birth of the mic.
Oh, that's great. And you clearly had like a blowout season 1. Now you're going into season 2. What lessons did you learn from season 1 that you're taking into the second season to make it even more spectacular, or, you know, more effortless or more efficient, whatever improvement there is that you learned from the first one going into the second?
You want to take that, Lucia?
Yeah, sure. So like you said, season 1 went great, and we actually got a gold and a silver Tele award opposite companies like Netflix, Amazon, and HBO. So that was an amazing honor for us as a startup and as a new show, and as the first interactive show format on the African continent. But we obviously saw plenty of room for improvement, as we always do. So there were things we wanted to do. One, we had 6 countries last year. This year, 10 countries participated. We were distributed in 9 countries last year. This year, we're distributed in 20 plus countries. We also did some technical things to that we were just like, ooh, we want to just like tweak it and make it a little better. So we made it more suspenseful, more fast paced. We added better animation to our country primers and youth primers, which is a really cool part of the show if you watch it on takebackthemic.com. And so we just wanted to add these elements to make it, less talking, more action, more suspense, more excitement about who's going to win, and more color and beauty and artistry. And also, one of the amazing things about the first season that carried over into season 2 is we had this sort of silver lining to COVID, which was that, instead of sending one crew around to all the different countries, because of COVID, we couldn't travel. So we had to find local filmmakers on the ground in each country. And so it actually turned to be an incredible blessing in disguise, because it was the local perspective on the local artists and the local communities. And we discovered so many incredible filmmaking talents on top of the, musical and visual talents that we found. And it became a filmmaking competition too. So this year, I would say we have even more amazing filmmakers. And when you watch it, you can see each artist profile is like a beautiful little documentary unto itself about that artist.
Wow. No, that sounds great. I love the idea of using the local filmmakers. I'm sure that was actually possibly less expensive also, which is also a good thing.
It was less expensive, Tony, and it was also faster, because instead of shooting sequentially, we were able to shoot in all the countries simultaneously. We're never getting rid of that. Like, that is our model now.
That's here to stay.
That's here to stay.
No, that's great. That's great. So why, I guess the simple question, like, why Africa? As I mentioned earlier, I'm from Nigeria. So I'm always interested in how do we change the narrative or give a better narrative that exists when it comes to portraying the continent around the world. And I'm always interested in, okay, what's being done there creatively, whether it's music, whether it's, acting, art, whatever it is. So, you being focused on music, like why, I guess, why the continent being the focus this time around?
Yeah, I think that, first, because a bunch of the team members, senior team members, are African. we saw opportunity where I think many people had not taken the time to look. So there's a few reasons why Africa. On the tactical side, if you do a show in the United States and you sell it to a distributor, they own the show. This is why you see many of these show formats. And by format, for those who don't know, we're like, a show is like this particular series that you watch in your community, whatever, it's a show. A format is one that can be replicated in multiple communities around the world and made to be their own. The Voice is a format. X Factor is a format. Idol is a format. So you have American Idol, you got UK Idol, you got Nigerian Idol, everybody has an idol, right? That's a format. So when you ask people, what are the hot formats on the continent, you know, first of all, people start talking about shows. And I'm like, those are shows, they're not formats. What's the format that came from the African continent? They're like, oh, format, it's like, oh, we have X Factor, we have Nigerian Idol, Big Brother, BB Niger. You know, we have Real Housewives of Johannesburg. Okay, that's cool, it's all good, right? But these are all properties that came from the outside in. So where's the indigenous format that was born on the continent and took our vision of the world to the rest of the planet and helped them also embrace and make it their own? It had never been done. As far as we've seen, as far as everyone we've talked to, there was no format that came out of Africa. So what did we do? From a tactical perspective, we realized that we don't want to start this in the US because then we give it up to somebody who didn't make the sacrifice in building the damn thing. But most times people will go and start it in Europe, and we didn't feel like that was the right market. It was saturated. We didn't think that they would be open enough to try something brand new and creative. And we talked to some major producers there, and we just didn't see them seeing the opportunity. So in Africa, we could do it on our own and own the IP, which is critical as a part of our core business strategy, which is one where we do not license content. A lot of these streaming services up and coming out there licensing content, thinking, oh, Netflix does it, and so I'm gonna license a bunch of content, and then I'm gonna charge you a subscription fee. Netflix is charging people in dollars, you are charging in Naira. How are you going to survive? I'm just saying, like, it's a different ecosystem, and the consumer has a different level of constraint on the wallet. So we don't believe that subscription video on demand is gonna do well in emerging markets for some time to come. We think that advertising supported AVOD, advertising supported video on demand will do much better. But if that's the case, you then have to really constrain that content cost. And what we did is build a model where content can actually make money rather than just cost money, right? And so the ownership of the IP is a fundamental principle in making that happen. We could do that in Africa, own the IP, while also taking advantage of an incredible opportunity that people seem to be missing, which is you're looking at the youngest, fastest growing population on the planet.
Yeah.
And earlier on, I talked about people don't know who's watching and why, and they also don't know where the audience is. The audience is in the global south. And in the next 10, 15 years, Africa will be the dominant place to find that audience. Over the next 50 years, it will be the only place on the planet where population is growing, right? And so we saw the opportunity to, in a way, go home, to own the power of what we create, and to amplify the voices of the next generation of global audience in a way that other people, we think, were not prepared to do.
That makes perfect sense. And just to give people an idea of the population converting and resulting in engagement on your platform, could you tell a little bit about the media impressions that you're getting and some statistics, I guess, that are showing the growth and the popularity and the demand for what you're offering right now?
Yeah, absolutely. So as Lucia mentioned, when we started, we're on like, I think 8 or 9 countries. And now we're in more than 20 countries. And when we say last year, we really mean last season, because the first season was done in January. It's only December. So we've had 2 seasons. The second season of the show had completed production less than a year before the first season began production. And in that year, we've had 825 million media impressions with no marketing. So we know that we're onto something. And it's really cool and it's really exciting. And the kind of talent that we've discovered through this process has been incredible. Lucia also mentioned the Tele Awards earlier, but let's put that into context. So every year you have 12,000 submissions to the Global Tele Awards. This year, they narrowed down to the top 25, including Netflix, Electronic Arts, Al Jazeera, HBO, Disney Plus. And a few months ago, we won gold and silver against the biggest companies in the entertainment industry. We know that we're onto something. And we've discovered some incredible talent from around the continent. Starting in the new year, we're going to be able to deliver some really cool rewards to the audience members, the young people that are elevating these talents and discovering them, and really make what I think will be a very unique and transformative ecosystem, not only across the African continent, but spreading into other territories where talent is also yearning to be heard and discovered.
No, that's great. So could you speak on how artists and creators, well, actually, there are two questions that come to mind. One was if you could go over your business model and like how, do you make money? And also, how do the creators and artists make money also?
Okay, great question. So fundamentally, it's advertising supported, and we also make money from sponsorship of the content. And the way that creators make money is quite interesting. It's the same way that consumers make money. So right now, when you watch and you share, you earn points on the platform. And those points, you can go into a mobile wallet that's fully functional right now and exchange your points for Cola, which is our own digital currency. Now, I'm not going to speak out of turn. I don't want to say what's going to happen because a lot of people are like, well, why should I, take my points and turn it into this cola? Yeah, you're talking cola like cola nuts. Nobody is spending these things. I'm like, there is going to be significant reason why you want to have cola. And we'll be announcing why in the coming months, but it will, I think, have a revolutionary impact on the way that creators and consumers of content are compensated and rewarded for their participation in this value chain.
That's very interesting. And I know you mentioned the blockchain earlier, so clearly this has, something to do with that. And I love the fact that you're integrating blockchain technology into entertainment and doing some forward thinking here. So, so for this is a question for both of you, like, what have been the most memorable events or occurrences that have happened for you since starting this company, whether it's something that happened in Brazil or Colombia or in Ghana, whatever it was, whether it's an artist, whether it's working with whoever it was, what was like the most memorable experience that you had so far?
Well, I could say, when we first started, Derrick had this idea. I wasn't officially part of the company yet. I was just a wife wanting to support my husband. I was raising two babies. We had a big sponsor that backed out at the last minute. And so we were like, you know what? We're still gonna do it. We're still gonna do this show that leverages our platform for the fans to cast and curate who gets on the show, who advances, and who wins. And so I started an Indiegogo campaign, and I was there at home with two babies, like raising money like crazy, reaching out to everybody I'd ever met to try to get the money for the Indiegogo campaign, while Derrick, his sister, and a cameraman went to the favelas and barrios of Jamaica, Colombia, and Brazil to shoot, and they had no return ticket. So I was like literally trying to raise the money to get them home. And then 6 months later, we had our first of 2 Emmy nods for Outstanding Interactive Program. So I would say just the way we were born was very memorable.
Yeah. Wow.
I love that you shared that because that was literally the same thing that I was thinking. And I want to, what I'm saying? And I want to emphasize what Lucia said, because a lot of times people think about entrepreneurship and you see all of the great stories and all of the cool stuff that happens on the beautiful side of success. I saw this quote once online, and it just hit me so hard. Somebody saw something I did with Oprah or some celebrity or sometimes we do stuff that's like very high profile. A lot of the work that we do is super nitty gritty, is grimy. But every once in a while, you have stuff that's like super wow. And people are like, oh, wow, what's going on there? And this person wrote this thing and they were like, oh man, I wish I could be like D, you know what I'm saying? Like instant fame and fortune. And I was like, oh, Charlie, if only you knew. I mean, and this story, I think, is a wonderful example for entrepreneurs of what it is to build and create something and to believe in something and to believe in what you do. You know, for us to get on a plane to other countries with no idea how we were coming back, because we believed in what we were doing and we understood why we were doing it. For years, we had to struggle to explain to people, we are a technology company. You know, 60% of our monthly burn goes towards product and engineering. There's no comparison, but they still think, oh, but you must be an entertainment company. I'm like, they don't even make money in the same way. Completely different business model. And usually it's people who don't know anything about entertainment that are telling us this. Because if they did, they would recognize like, oh, no, you can't do that if you're an entertainment company. You have to do it like this. You know, but because we're not, we figured out how to make amazing content in ways that traditional entertainment companies wouldn't even try. It's too risky for them. But we're a tech company. So the risk for us is in a different arena.
Yeah.
And in having to make that constant explanation of who and what we are and say, it's just the same thing that Netflix does. Like, well, Netflix started differently. They didn't do content at first. They only did the tech. And I'm like, yeah, and they learned that that was a mistake. And that's why they dominate the market. I'm supposed to go and do stupid things because y'all can't see where the future's going. Everybody makes these little bootleg platforms. Then they're like, oh my God, what are we going to put on it? And it's like, better figure that out. We figured it out before we started. We went and interviewed producers, record producers, artists, label heads, TV executives, network studio heads, musicians and creatives. We interviewed indie artists and high school kids to figure out what would it take to make a solution that the market actually required. And some things became very clear. One, you had to have a platform that was compelling and gave them a social experience around the content, that rewarded them and recognized them for what they did, and that had content that was meaningful to them, that had local relevance and global resonance. And we realized that, wow, there's a reason why certain companies, I'm not going to name, that were backed by huge multi-billion-dollar companies, failed in Southeast Asia, failed in Africa, failed in other parts of the global South. Because everybody thinks they're so smart that they're just going to do one or the other. And it's not possible. It's not possible to copy Netflix unless you come in with Netflix type money, which you will not have because they've already built that model. And so what we did is take the hard path to actually build the solution that the community, the audience, the advertisers, the brands, the network executives, the labels, and the artists and the fans told us they wanted. And we believed in it enough to take the risk. And that's why it's working. And so I'm glad that Lucia shared that story. I would share the same one. And I would add the context for any entrepreneurs that are watching this. You need to know what you're doing. You need to know your market. And you need to have the courage and the faith of your convictions and go out and make it happen.
Yeah, that's perfect. I was just about to ask you, do you have any advice for other entrepreneurs or content creators or people that want to be in the media space? And, you know, I guess you just hit it on the head there. Any other thing you want to add to that, you know?
Let your bite be worse than your bark. Make it happen. Half of the stuff that we talk about, everything that we've discussed today, is stuff we've already done. We rarely talk in public about what we're going to do. A lot of times people say, well, you can't. I had a meeting just this week. Someone's like, well, you can't do all this. I was like, everything we just discussed, I've already done it. Like, you can't be telling me nothing about what I can't do. Did it. You could look it up online. As an entrepreneur, don't be swayed. It doesn't mean you don't learn from other people, but don't be swayed by people who don't know your industry as well as you do. Go out, make it happen. Great things come from having the courage to take that step.
I think that's exactly right. And I would add a slight nuance for the women founders out there, because it can be a little different for us. Everything Derrick said is true. You have to go for it no matter what. You have to believe no matter what. You have to do whatever it requires within your integrity to make it real. But for women, that can look a little different than it does for men. So how many meetings have I had to run while I was also cooking dinner and helping the kids with their homework simultaneously, you know? And I mean, Derrick is a very involved and wonderful father, but it just looks different. Kids need different things from their mom. It's just a different existence. And so for the women, I would say, let go of letting it be, of trying to make it perfect or look pretty all the time. It's going to be messy sometimes. You're going to have to juggle those things. Not everything is going to be wrapped up in a little bow. And don't let the perfect be the enemy of the great. Don't stop yourself from trying and going for it and doing it exactly how it is. With, you know, it is never going to look like the idea in your head, and be okay with the reality of what it takes to make it happen with your real life, and not some scenario that does not exist. Don't hold yourself to that expectation.
I gotta say, for the record, like you do really look pretty all the time. Like I'll be watching you on these podcasts, I'm like, yo, she's so cute. Oh my God, who that? I'm like, oh, what? So it's such a little, even me on the talk today, I'm glad I was able to focus because you look so nice and cute. So yeah, you are holding it down on all levels.
And for the audience, we are married, so this is completely kosher for him to say.
This is not harassment. This is his wife.
Hey, this is
love. This is not harassment.
What are you gonna do?
So that actually leads me to one more question before we wrap up. So as founders who are in, you know, a partnership, business partnership and life partnership, what would you say are the strengths or the personal characteristics that you each bring to the table to make this company work? You know, like not everybody's the same. People have different things that they bring to the table. What does Derrick bring? What does Lucia bring that to keep this ball rolling? And you could say for each other.
Yeah, that's so sweet. What a nice question, Tony. Thank you. Derrick is without any question or doubt an absolute visionary who he doesn't just have the vision, he has the grit, determination, intelligence, ability to execute, ability to inspire an amazing team to surpass themselves under challenging circumstances. He has everything it takes to be one of the greatest tech CEOs the world has ever known. I truly believe that from the bottom of my heart. And he does it while being a caring and wonderful husband, father, friend, son, brother. And he has more than one multi-billion-dollar idea, which all link up together. And sometimes people will wonder, well, is that too much? But nobody ever asked, is more than one multi-billion-dollar idea too much for Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos or Sergey Brin? Why should more than one multi-billion-dollar idea that works well with the others be too much for Derrick Ashong? He has what it takes to really make the most successful media tech company the world has yet seen. I truly believe that. And his ideas, the time and his ideas are meeting each other perfectly right now, as you noted, at the nexus of content and blockchain.
Y'all can't tell, but I'm blushing. I'm blushing all over the place right now. Charlie, I give thanks for melanin. Thank you, Sugar Pie. That was super, super sweet. So Lucia is a powerhouse in this company and is one of the most influential figures in the business. She covers a bunch of different areas, right? So she was the chief creative officer. She, prior to that, built the operational plan for the company. She actually wrote the marketing strategy for how we actually roll out and go to market. And then she took on the role of the Chief Growth Officer and led us to more user acquisition in the last 4 weeks than in the previous 4 months. It's really incredible watching somebody who, you talk to Lucia, she's like, oh, well, I was an artist. I'm like, yeah, you're an artist, but you're an artist who has degrees from Harvard and Yale and started off on Broadway and then went and worked with Oliver Stone and knows every celebrity. You can't watch the Oscars with this kid. Like, really, though. She's like, hey, oh, that's Craig. And then we used to do this in graduate school. Blah, 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 blah. I'm like, I don't know none of these people. You know what I'm saying? But she does. And so when we do things and you'll see like oh, TV Tim Interactive had like Mustafa Shakir of Luke Cage and Cowboy Bebop. You have Asia Naomi King for How to Get Away with Murder. You have Deepak Chopra, all these incredible people here. I mean, Lucia makes that happen, right? I get credit because they interview me and they put my picture on because they like the bald head. But she made it happen. And so to have somebody who came from that artistic component, but then also was literally one of the leading organizers for the Obama campaign in the state of California in 2008, led the team and created the team that won for him by the highest margin in the state. Her organizing capabilities and ability to get people to work in tandem to get something done tactically are incredible. And she's probably the most prolific fundraiser on the team, right? People don't realize it. They'll look at me in that instance because I wind up talking to like the VCs, this and this and that. But if you just talk about the number of people closed, Lucia is the one, boom, 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 boom. It's incredible. And so I'm very, very fortunate to have, I have 4 great co-founders, right? They put us on because we're married. It's a nice story and we talk a lot. But literally like John and Esteban are incredible. And the rest of the team is just, it's hard to describe how strong this team is, not only in intellect and execution capability, even just the street cred on what they've done in both Hollywood and Silicon Valley. So I feel super blessed to have a co-founding team that's so strong, but also a co-founder and life partner in Lucia, who inspires me to also strive and be my best, and who, a lot of times people will be like, oh, you have a team like this and the one founder is so smart and so capable, and then the other one is so dashingly good looking with, beautiful skin and cowrie shells and everything. And they always look at me and they're like, oh, you probably got hired for your looks. You know what I'm saying? How did he get that job? You know what I'm saying? But honestly, we all bring the ruckus, and it's great to get to work with people like that. And Lucia is my number one ally in all of this.
It's amazing. Teamwork truly makes the dream work. Y'all are making it happen. So, I mean, it was a pleasure speaking to you both, learning more about the company, learning more about both of you individually. How can people support right now? Like, where can they go to? What can they download? Where can they click? What kind of support do you need and wants right now?
The best thing is go to tbtm.io, TBTM as in take back the mic, tbtm.io, and log in, create your account in the app, and literally watch and share the artists that are in the competition. You can click at the little flag, charts button at the bottom of the app. If you could download it on Android and iOS, just look for Take Back the Mic, MIC. And basically, you'll see all the countries. And if you look at the top of that flag section, the chart section, you'll see the Mike Africa logo. And you see all the artists there. And if you watch and share their stuff, they rise up the charts. And on Sunday, we're going to announce the winner as chosen by you, the audience, as well as the celebrity champions that are representing each of the countries and advocating for the artists. And it's incredible because the celebrity champion from each artist, from each country, advocates for the artists from the country, but they can't vote for them in the finale. They have to vote for somebody from another country. So collectively, anything can happen, and we're all coming together to elevate the voices of a new generation of African creators. I'm super happy and proud to be able to do that, and we invite all of you to participate.
Yes, and tune in Sunday, 4 p.m. GMT on tbtm.io for the season 2 finale of the Mike Africa. as Derrick said, to see who your votes will go to and who will take it all home. But yeah, Sunday, 4 p.m. GMT, which is California time, and EST. Derrick is good at doing
8
the time.
a.m. 8 a.m. California time, 11 a.m. Eastern.
11 Eastern. Okay. Great, great, great. All right. Well, thank you both again. It was a pleasure, and have a great rest of the day. And we'll definitely be in contact soon.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you, Tony. It was a pleasure too.
Likewise.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye.